All right. Hi, everyone. If you haven't seen me before, I'm Melissa Parks. I'm one of the co-founders of the Location Independent Therapist community, also known as the LIT community. And I'm joined today with Biyang. So, Biyang, I'm just going to turn it over to you right away and let you introduce yourself to us.
Okay. Hi, Biyang here. I think I joined Lit maybe like 2, 3 years ago, especially just when really exploring what it means to travel and be location independent as a therapist. And so I think in the past 2 years, I've been able to grow my practice and kind of been traveling throughout different places. And right now I'm in Budapest, Hungary for a month, and so kind of just maybe doing a little catch up and with Melissa. So
Yeah. So, just to let everybody know, this is actually the second interview that Young has done with us in the community. So we'll be sure to link to that in the description of this video, so you can watch her first interview, and then we'll kind of do it's like a kind of before and after sort of thing. And that one was like about a year or two ago. And so, believe it or not, actually, it's been 3 years since you joined the community. I feel like time like just is hard to comprehend since we had that pandemic in there. But yeah, I know you were one of our founding members in February 2020. So, what do you remember what was going on for you? Like, I think for most of us, that was like before the pandemic was affecting our lives. Any memories about what was going on with you in your practice at that point?
I think then I don't know if like the practice was totally a practice. It was still a moment when I just thought I want to do this travel and also do the work that I love. But it was still a time when I think online like telehealth wasn't as set up, or so it's hard to find a group of people who kind of have that like mindset. And I think support is really important. So I think then I was still figuring things out and kind of have a basic idea of what I wanted to do. But I think what was helpful about being in the community is like also talking about the business stuff, like what it means to, how do you tie like who you are and what you want into how reflected in the business, and what it means to, be a therapist, and how to, really kind of what it means to work like with your patients and clients. And yeah, so I think then I really was still figuring things out, which I think it's okay, it's part of this process, and it's certainly not easy to go off on your own and do your own practice in general, but also to do this traveling thing. So I think it's just important to have some people who kind of has your back and will talk through like the nitty gritty and the tough stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We had people who join us in the community kind of like at all different points in their practice, but a lot of people join at the place where you were at, where it's like, okay, I want to kind of even just, I just want to get this started, and I need to be around other people who can help me believe in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So also, let's just let listeners know too, or listeners, viewers, everybody who's watching, you're licensed in the US, right? What is your license?
Yeah, so I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm licensed in like 5 different states to practice. So I have like California, Illinois, New Jersey, Florida, Washington, D.C. And yeah, so covers a,
And do you,
the,
yeah, a little kind of all over the place.
yeah.
And do you work with clients outside of the US, or are you focused mostly on those states that you're licensed in?
Yeah, I work with all clients in the US right now. Yeah,
Okay.
because I
And
also work with clients who use their insurance. Sorry. No, I'm just saying I also use clients who use their insurance, right? So part of that being a therapist is also the access piece. And so I think that currently is easier to do, with US patients. So
Yes. Yeah. So that's important to you right now, right? To be able to, for people to use their insurance to work with you.
yeah.
Mhm. And what about how do those clients find you? Because that's also kind of a wide net to try to reach people in all those different states.
Well, so of course, having like a profile in Psychology Today, because that's where everyone goes. But when I first built my practice, I also kind of designed my whole website. And I think back then I definitely blogged a lot more. Recently, that hasn't been happening. But I think, with the website, well, I also have a Google business, right? And so I think over time you kind of build up your underlying presence as well. But I think with the website is, a place where clients can know more about you, and then get a sense of your background. It's fine just to have profiles as well. People can look, but part of therapy is like people are opening up, and it's a really vulnerable thing. And it's helpful to give them the space beforehand. I think it's also helpful too, because then you're also filtering a bit, and like the people who come to you already have a sense of what your style is, or what that looks like. And that's why I also give a initial 20-minute consultation as well, because I think therapy is a process and trust takes time to build. So it's also important to really know like, okay, if this client is a good fit, and then if they're willing to kind of be in the process, which may not have guarantees, but also it's a process, and it's not just about the end. So yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's really just helped people to get to know you and like kind of know what to expect when they meet you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and what about, I know when Sonia interviewed you, you hadn't really taken your office on the road yet. So it sounds like that's something that's changed in the past couple of years.
Yeah. So I think especially post pandemic, so more traveling allowed. And so, yeah, just, kind of being different places in like Latin America and Europe. And, certainly I think it's important to keep clients on a consistent level, which, also meaning like a lot of my long-term clients, right, making sure they have a certain level of consistency. So even, with different time zones, or making sure like people are still have their own slots. And yeah, and so I think that's part of it, is giving clients still that sense of safety and stability, and certainly making sure like personally I'm taking care of myself, and being able to manage like this sort of lifestyle. But yeah, that's also important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a concern I hear from a lot of therapists who are thinking of traveling with their practice is, oh my gosh, how am I going to adjust to all the time zones? So have you just adjusted your own schedule then, your own daily schedule?
Well, so I function a lot better in like afternoon evenings, because I feel like I need to
Yeah.
take care of my own stuff before I take care of others.
Ah.
So I think a lot of my clients, like, so in the US, of course, I work afternoon evenings, but when I'm like, in the time zone more ahead, so they move to the mornings. So luckily my clients are like willing to like stay and work with me on that. But I think if some specific part of year that will impact like how many clients I get, right? Because most people are okay, but still just mornings can be a little limiting for some people. But the thing I think about being location independent, it's like, we talk with our clients every day about what do they want to do with their lives and how do they feel. And I think part of being a therapist is like, you don't have to leave or lead a life you quote unquote preach or anything, but it's like when you talk to other people, you're going to reflect on your own life. And it's not helpful if I feel like I'm stuck or not doing the things I want, because that will, there's a lot of countertransference there, or, it's not necessarily helpful. So for me, it's just, the importance of this is this balance of like, okay, I'm also exploring and doing the things I want, but also because clients will see that, and that also gives them like a sense of hope and this genuine quality. So yeah, that's why this is what I'm doing right now in this period of in my life. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, it's true. I think so often therapists, we are like, yeah, we like you're saying, we say these things, but then we don't practice it ourselves. And I think a lot of location independent therapists are doing what you're doing, right? Just trying to break that and say, like, I need to put on my own oxygen mask first and model good boundaries.
yeah, and yeah, definitely.
Well, what would you say to anybody who's listening, who's kind of thinking about joining the lit community? Any words of wisdom for them?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, like there's just so much, like so many people at like, this is at different stages in the business, but also from a lot of different, maybe different places, backgrounds. So you really get, you can, it's almost like there's so many ways to connect. And so even if you don't find an exact experience, but it seems like you can take different pieces from different people. And I think a lot of the resources like, the business, meetups, or like, I don't know if there's still the book club, or, or this, or the, happy hour. So like you get the sense of, experiencing each other on like getting to know people as they are. So it's not just this black box, like, oh, this person have their practice and like, you see them that way. But when there's like a personal connection, you kind of, it's different. And then you also do have those like resources and really things you can, really learn from that. It's nice to have and know you trust the information. I mean, there's a lot of info online, you can search for it, but it's this sense of like relief, and also just like, oh, good, like I know, like, a lot of the topics I'm just, sometimes like, oh yeah, I really want to know that, but I didn't think I needed it until they brought it up. And I'm like, oh, that would be helpful to know. So I
Yeah.
think it's just a really good place for you to feel like safe, and just like and you can, there's a sense of trust, and you can just kind of build from that. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to hear that you've had that experience. There is like I think
yeah,
that that's something we offer, is that like kind of curated library of resources, right? So you're not just like Googling and falling down the rabbit hole.
exactly. Yeah, truly.
Well, Biyang, what about if people want to, learn more about your practice and maybe reach out to you? Can you share with us your website or any social media you're using?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have Instagram and Facebook, but honestly, I don't post a lot. I do
Great.
sometimes post like stories of travels, but that would be, I don't know if you're linking it, but so it would be
I'll link
like
to it. Yep.
yeah, so it'd be like the exponential underscore beyond for my Instagram. But yeah, so I named it the exponential with XPOENTIAL.
Mhm.
So my website is www at theexponential.com. So that's where you can find me and learn more about the philosophical stuff if you're so interested.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing with us more about it today. And we'll catch up with you again in a couple years and learn more about all the interesting places you've traveled to and how your practice has grown at that point too.
Thank you. It's great to catch up with you too.
Awesome.